Right. So this is different. I was just doing a live there, so you have to it's very different. It's fun. I'll keep doing them for a while anyway. Um the questions just they come. I do it on the phone, so you have to kind of scroll and then you have to try and pick out the questions, but it's different to Zoom for sure. I like it, yeah.
An hour ago, right?
Yeah, it started at 1. I don't know if anyone here was on the live. Um
I know.
oh, Catherine was on it. She's her hand up there.
Yeah, I was on a tape.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna just exploring different ways of doing. I'm gonna me and my buddy Frank are probably gonna do something as well, where we do it. We just have a conversation, and that'll go live. I don't think we'll probably go into the questions as much. I think we'll just talk, um, and I'll see. Yeah, I need to kind of figure it out a bit more, but do them on a Friday probably.
It was kind of funny last night. I guess there was the meeting you had today at 1. A lot of us got the notice that it was
Yeah, I'm
1
sorry.
a.m. So the thread was comical, oh, we can't believe Kenneth's doing this, what
Yeah,
is he thinking? It's 1 a.m. And then like some other banter, and then it was like you could just see the dawn of realization, like, hey, wait a minute, he's got to be sleeping. This has got to be a mistake.
yeah,
He's not going to be here. And then there
yeah.
was some more talk, and then people left. It was
I
pretty
meant
funny.
to I meant to apologize for that as well. It was
Hey,
I've
for
got a
me in the
long
US,
list
it
of
wasn't bad,
stuff
but
to apologize for.
I
But
know for Catherine or others.
yeah, I
I
know,
was
yeah.
still awake anyway, so.
How are you? I'm definitely gonna fire my admin team. They're just mistake after mistake after mistake. And there's only so my patience is run out now at this stage. Simple instructions, they can't follow them. So what can you do? Yeah, just yeah, there you go. Yeah, God knows what to be said in the chat. Like, I mean, even the questions, people don't realize some of the questions, some of the absolute, you know, baboons that are just emailing me are, just ridiculous, like keyboard warriors and insults, and that's even with the filters on, which is funny. If you didn't have the filters on, you'd be just bombarded with absolute muck of the highest order. So there's very high filters on that, and you still just get these idiots. But I don't care anyway. It's kind of still fun,
Not even. Why are you a target? You're just some. I mean, I'm surprised that you would be targeted. It's like
I think everyone is kind of targeted, really. Like, I mean, once you say anything at all, now you're going to be targeted for. Yeah, so you are. Oh yeah, I get plenty of abuse. Believe me, I have done for years. That's just the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes people write these big essays and how much of an absolute idiot I am and blah blah blah. But they don't. I don't. The funny thing is, they wouldn't read. They wouldn't do it, I guess, if they realize I don't read them. So they're totally wasting their time. Or a lot of the YouTube things are they've got better filters now, so all these people are just digging, and they're completely wasting their time because I don't even get to see them. So, but yeah, that's the way it is. If anybody who says anything is just or puts something up on YouTube, or it's just par for the course, isn't it? So anyway, where was I? Where was I? Nowhere. Yeah. Hiya, Mary Rose. Hiya. you just need to unmute and either put on the camera or not. Can't hear you. All right. Okay, here you are. Are you? No, you're gone. Hi, Ryan. Hiya.
Hiya, Kenneth. Sorry. Yeah, no, I just had a job interview there. That was me on the YouTube live talking about the job interview.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Did you tell them? Did you tell them there's no individual?
Well, he said he said to me, the first question was, "So tell me a little bit about yourself." And
Yeah.
I had just come off your live, and it was anyway, it's just a weird question for me anyway. Like, tell me a bit about yourself. So I was sort of like stared off into space for a little bit, and then I don't even know what I said, just rhymed off some stuff about the past or whatever.
Yeah.
The the one thing that it was so boring. It was horrendously boring. It was just sort of like and I sort of fell into it too, like into the role. So it was like two robots talking to each other really, and it was just incredibly boring. Yeah. So and I couldn't give a shit if I got the job or not, to be honest.
You probably will get offered it then.
And then I was just thinking, like, well, I wasn't really thinking, but it was sort of an insight into what our experience whenever I was walking just into the park after where I'm at now. It was like only 5 minutes prior, but it's just the whole thing, the whole event just seems like completely like a distant memory. It was only 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like, it just can be obvious that everything is nothing. And so what I mean by that is it can just be obvious that everything is a story, really. It's appearing to happen. So that realness can just collapse almost out of it. So as an individual, everything is so real. It's really happening, and it's really happening to me. And there are things, there are experiences. Everything is an object to my subject, and it can just be that it's just a play of light. It's just what's appearing to happen. It's just an appearance. So it's the same. Incredibly, it's the same. Of course, it's the same, because what you're yearning for is what's appearing to happen. So the exact same, and it's completely different.
Yep.
Because nothing actually happened. Nothing actually in this. It's a story that something happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is nothing appearing to happen.
Another thing that was maybe a little bit different than that it would have been in the past, but again the same, was I was sort of sitting in the lobby, waiting for the interviewer to come out, and I wasn't nervous about about the interview. I was nervous about, or there was nervousness, or not even nervousness. There was a beat. The heart was beating fast.
Yeah.
The heart was beating fast, more so because I hadn't been in that kind of situation for years. Actually, I hadn't done an interview for years, so it's like it's just such an odd kind of thing. I was just a bit nervous about what I was going to say or something. Like, I didn't know what I was going to say, so like, good or bad, I didn't know. Maybe at some point in the interview he might ask me like something that just didn't interest me, and I would have just given like some shitty answer, or like just even outright told him like, listen, I don't even want this job, or I don't know, I didn't know what I was going to say. So there was nervousness about that, but there was no judging that. It was just the heart was beating fast, and that was it. There was no
lovely.
like,
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
There's no like, okay, I need to like take deep breaths here.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
It's just the heart was beating fast, and that's
totally. That's
aliveness.
Story, like. That's all there is aliveness, and aliveness is whatever appears is unconditional love. So when there's energy as that, let's call it nervousness or whatever, it's simply just aliveness as that. There's no problem with it. It's just another thing that appears to happen. And that's a really good example of something that for the apparent individual is a problem. It's when I feel nervous as an individual, then I shouldn't be. There's all of this, extra. I shouldn't be nervous. Why am I nervous? How can I not be nervous? And funny enough, that makes you more nervous.
Yeah.
Whereas when there's just nerves, it's just nerves. It's just another thing that's appearing to happen, and it's there until it isn't. So then it's just the way it often is someone can say there's nerves and the heart's beating, and then there's just suddenly it's just not there. It's just a full, kind of maybe the enjoyment or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, there's just what's appearing to happen. So it says that it says the host is not allowing guests to unmute themselves. That can't be the case because other people have.
Yeah, sorry, I did it.
It's
I
not.
figured it out.
It's not me. It's you, Rose, Mary Rose. I like to say that's one of my favorite things to say. I don't get to say it very often. Or it's not. It's not me. It's my team of people who set up these things and make all these mistakes.
Right, I don't mean to interrupt the other.
You're not interrupting at all. No, you're fine.
The other speaker, is he done?
I think
yeah,
is,
go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, regarding synchronicities and things like that, and I know there's stories, but do you still have some experience, not experience, whatever words you want to use, that experiences occur?
No, so when what you're asking about is synchronicities, that something happens and it is in some way aligned with something else. Is that it? And it's kind of, oh, that's significant because is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess you responding that way kind of answers the question, because then it would be happening to me or for me, right? But is there ever
synchronicities for me synchronicity would be in the story of something having meaning, that it has meaning that this happened, and it's incredible that it happened when I did this or when I asked for this, and there's a kind of convergence of two different things, but it's two things that are really happening, and then there's a link and there's meaning between them. So that would only be in the story for the individual.
Okay, and so my other question is, like, this self-dropping is complete and absolute. I mean, obviously there can be variances depending on each character in how it arrives and whatever way it arrives. That's just what's happening. But when it's seen, it can be complete. You mentioned destruction, absolute and final, and like the self wants to sometimes have its cake and eat it too. Like, oh gee, I don't want to give up synchronicities, or
it always wants its cake and eat it too. Always. That's exactly what the individual wants. It wants a thing called enlightenment, or a thing called liberation. So because it's feels like there is no individual, but when it feels like there is, it feels absolutely real. And then it lives in knowing. So it wants to know what's being spoken about here and have what's being spoken about here, where it's been illuminated that it's unknowable. You can't have it. It's ungraspable. It's already all that's appearing. So the individual is just only being an individual in knowing, and just continues to go around that loop of maintaining itself. So it doesn't actually want, like, what's being liberation. The individual doesn't want liberation at all. It wants its idea of liberation. Because liberation is the end of the individual. So how would the individual want the end of the individual? That's why I'm not speaking to an individual. There's no individual. already. There's no separate you already. So it doesn't matter actually what you think you want or what the individual thinks. It doesn't matter at all. It's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with you, what's yearned for at all. Because you are a story just going around, apparently going around and around, reinforcing itself.
Okay, thank you, Kenneth.
Oh, it's nice to see you. You came from the YouTube, did you?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes. I had a question there to you, which you answered. And it was regarding the rawness of emotions when
Oh
the
yes,
self,
yeah.
and so, you know, kind of there's this my battery's draining, so if I drop off, it's nothing personal. I love that it's nothing personal.
If I drop away, it's nothing personal.
But
I'll try not to take it personally.
Before I drop away, I'll ask you this. So, you know, sort of that this in the story, Mary Rose is this empath, and, you know, everything is very intense with emotions, and, you know, the dropping away would never help that. In other words, it could actually intensify that, because there's no filter of the me to sort of figure things out or say, okay, this is what happened, and it's all just bam, like right, raw and coming at you.
It's indescribable. So nobody can describe what it's like to not be an individual. It's completely indescribable, and it's absolutely simple and direct and ordinary, and that there's just aliveness for nobody. So this already is liberation. I'm not talking about a state or something that may happen to you. There's no you there already. So there's sounds now, there's a voice, there's sitting, there's a light coming in the window, there's maybe sensations. That's wholeness, because all there is wholeness already. And what would appear to happen, I have no idea. No idea. But the character, I think it might, I don't know if it was you, someone else. I just got the reason I was getting a bit not bombarded, but there's a lot of questions and I'm trying to weed through the bullshit ones too. But the character is free to be more of a character in a sense, because really there's just the flavor of the way this is, you know, when there's no longer sense of being separate. So it can just be more full, because there's nobody there judging the character as I'm too much this and I'm not enough this. So when the sense of being separate is there, this life Kenneths in this case. And some of that is, you know, it just is what it is. It's not actually good or bad.
So does that mean there can be a longing for what was before the dropping away?
No, the longing is from the sense of you being, what would there be to long for when this is everything? You know, this is all that is.
That's so true.
You know, this is this is boundless unconditional love. This is infinite and eternal. So what are you looking for?
Right.
And the thing is about it, it's infinite and eternal and boundless unconditional love is not what the individual thinks it is. You know, it's also pain and discomfort, of course. You know, if it wasn't pain and discomfort, well, that then you're in duality. Oh, because so wholeness is feeling loved by everybody, feeling safe, feeling you know, all of these and but you know, see that discomfort, see that confusion, see no, that pain and all that, that's not it. Well, then that's two-ness then. Oh, she's dropped away. Wow. That's amazing. Nothing to do with our battery draining or anything. Lawrence, hiya. I hope you're not talking too much because you've been muted.
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
Okay, the host must have muted me.
Oh, must have, yeah. Could be my team as well behind me. Tell you.
Anyway, I was starting work late today at only like 3 p.m. So I really had a lot of time. And it was weird because there was really no drive to do anything. Because there was a sense that there was nothing to gain from doing anything. Like there was nothing, I had no idea that anything would bring like this to me fulfillment. And so I just sat around basically most of the time in kind of bored. So like, and there was a sense like I've done everything in my life that I thought would make me happy, and that hasn't worked. So why yeah, and it was strange. So there was very much a sense of the individual, but it was almost like the idea that there was anything defined for it was less, and so there was not much drive to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what was appearing to happen.
Yeah.
It's inescapable. It doesn't matter what's appearing to happen. It's whatever is appearing to happen, is it? Oh, hi, Ben.
Hey, I didn't know whether Lawrence was still going. So I
No,
know this
I really have nothing to say.
I know this is a language thing, but I just wrote down, like, as you were answering a couple people's questions, I try not to write or during a meeting, but like there's no separate self. But then in answering questions, so I know it's a language thing, but it still is confusing. It once, it makes nervousness even worse. The loop of maintaining itself. It doesn't really want liberation. Longing is from the sense of you. So I know they're all language, but it still it almost makes it seem like there is some substantialness, a hint of substantialness to that sense of that illusory sense of a me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. It's impossible. It's a huge paradox for the individual that I'm talking about an individual, but at the same time I'm saying there's no individual. Massively paradoxical.
Yeah, it really,
for there's no the paradox collapses when the sense of me collapses, and it's obvious then. But all the time there's a sense of me. Another way of putting it is it's a dualistic dream. So the individual is dualism. So it's either there's an individual or there's not an individual. So which is it? So when you talk about the individual, this, I thought you just said there like 10 minutes ago, there is no individual. So which is it? Like pick one, because you're just contradicting yourself. Of course it's like that then. So what's being suggested is very simple. There's the appearance of an individual. The appearance. I'd say if you counted the word appearance, that would be the one to put your money on. If you're in a drinking game, you get very drunk. Because appearance, it's an appearance. So then every time I refer to the individual, I could say the apparent individual every single time. Really, I could say the apparent just gets a little bit boring, but we're talking about an appearance.
Yeah, but it seems, and I asked this question the other day too, it's built on, I guess I've been stuck in in thinking about it or whatever, reflecting on it. I asked something like, why does it seem like certain things that seem to appear when there's a sense of a self don't appear when there's not a sense of a self?
Because
As if
they're aspects of the dream of the individual. That's why. So you're as an individual, it's like you're living in this reality. So that reality, things are going to be real in that reality, and they'll feel absolutely real. And it's like time feels absolutely real. It's not an idea. It's not a concept. It's not an appearance. It's real. It's really real. It really is time. Volition or free will. It's not an appearance. It's real. There is free will. I can tell you there's free will because I know there's free will because the scientists have proven there's free will. So there's free will. It's not an appearance. So there's things that will appear in the story of feeling like an individual that will, of course, they will. Then when there's no longer a sense of being an individual, there's the appearance of time. You can jump on at 1 in the morning, 1 a.m. Irish time, and to discover that this clown isn't showing up, and you go, oh, someone will eventually go, oh, that's maybe meant 1 p.m. Irish time. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
there's I can't, like, it's completely impossible. I can't describe the difference. Nobody can describe the difference. It's impossible. And when there's no longer a sense of being an individual, it's very obvious to nobody that all of what felt absolutely real is a story, and was never anything but a story. So there's not a real individual who's really born and really falls away, like really lives their life and really falls away. It's a story. So it's only when that sense of being separate isn't there, then it's very clear to nobody it was always a story. But for the apparent individual, it's either this. That's the only thing I can say, really. It's either this or this. It's dualistic. It's dualistic. It's dualism.
Yeah.
So which is it? So who are you talking to? Like a lot of, like, you often get comments. I got that comment on the Fridays last week, the live, the YouTube. Like, who's this guy speaking to then? Do you know who is he actually speaking to in the live stream? Because he has to be speaking to someone. And he's saying there's nobody, but who's he speaking to? So as an individual, you will just be in that reality of subject to object. So when you feel like an individual, you must be speaking to somebody else. It has to be, because you feel like an individual. It's impossible.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Thanks. Mary Rose, you're back. Apparently. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you though.
Is that it?
Yeah, this is it.
Yay! See, I got all the one-liners today. Oh God, I didn't realize I was a comedian. All right, so you know, the whole time thing it's some of this stuff is just so incredibly obvious, and I can't like verbalize it, but like I mentioned, you know, to someone else the other day, I was feeding the cats, and I said, oh, every day at 5:30 they want to be fed, and then all of a sudden it became clear to me that there wasn't any yesterday at 5:30. Everything
No.
is happening, and it was so obvious, so
Yeah,
obvious.
yeah.
And I couldn't like describe it, and then but now it's so clear. It's like I know, and it's almost like a chunk fell away when I realized that. But of course, I'm still living in this, you know, meanness. But there is
Apparently that's also a story. So you saying I'm still living in this meanness is as much of a story as the story of you feeding the cat yesterday at 5 o'clock. So there
wow,
is no yesterday at 5 o'clock. It's a story.
right.
And there's no you. A meeting right now, there's no you speaking. There's no you sitting on that couch. So that's just a narrative that it's like a reflexively tell yourself, and there's still, but there's still a me.
Wow.
Is there really though? Is there really somebody there, or is there just sitting on the couch speaking, looking at the phone or the computer?
Jeez.
It's so simple.
Yeah, and that's it's almost like I you know, I got it, and I thought, but this couldn't it like it's not even describable. So how could this be it?
Yeah.
But it was so clear that there's no time.
No.
And that's a big thing.
Yeah, there's no you. There is no separate you. There's no you that has a life. Everything else then is a symptomatic of that. Everything, time, space, causality, free will, and you know, all of these kind of central things we take to be true, they're all just an aspect of you. There's no separate you. It's just a story. You were never born, you never lived your life, and you will never die, because there is no you. What you take to be you, or people take to be the you, the individual, is a construct. It's a model, or it's a way of I don't know, whatever it is, a story.
Yeah, I'm like I going back into photographs, let's say, and I see one of when I'm 3 in a bathtub staring up at whoever's taking the picture.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it's so obvious. There wasn't, that's not a me. That's something I'm looking at now, and having the story that everyone told me that was you in the back. And so now it's all becoming like almost like this unlayering, unbinding, it's I don't know, and it's just what's happening. I know that.
It's just what's appearing to happen. Yeah, it's inescapable. Like, it's not actually something that's happening to you, because there's no you.
Right.
But it can just be that it's more and more obvious. Possibly that's the way it is for some people. It's just really obvious. There's just what's appearing to happen. There's no, it's not happening, and it's not happening to anybody, because there is nobody. And that's unconditional love then. It's completely indescribable. You can't describe, you would never be able to describe it, just because I can't. It's so immediately, directly, just whatever's appearing to happen.
Wow, it's so amazing.
It's stunning. It's completely indescribably stunning. It is beyond any idea anyone ever had of it. And it's also absolutely ordinary and,
Yeah.
and just what's appearing to happen.
Wow. It's like that there's a part that just wants to make it more complicated. And every time I say, wow, this is just so simple, and then I say, well, then this couldn't be it. And then I'm like, but this is also it. Like it just, oh wow.
Exactly. So the thought this couldn't be it is also it, because it's just what's appearing to happen.
Wow.
Sometimes I say, people say, oh, it's so clear, and then they say, but then there was confusion. But what do you think the confusion is? What do you think the confusion is? The confusion is unconditional love, because all there is unconditional love. And if confusion's appearing to happen, then that's what's appearing to happen.
You know what it is? It's almost like this distrust, because when it's seen that there wasn't a time, and that sometimes when I see that there's not space in the room, it's just everything kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's almost like this distrust of, almost like, I guess, because like a habit of pattern still coming up in waves, that it couldn't like be this, because you know what, it's this distrust because it's so light. It's so light. It's not, it's like, well, this couldn't be it because,
Yeah.
you can't trust this. It's almost like happiness. When happiness comes, well, the happiness can't really be trusted. In other words, it's not going to stay. And it's not being paranoid, but it's just the way life is. There's always this, it's this flow, right? It's this constant, sometimes the happiness and pain are actually exactly the same time happening. Like when you're mourning somebody and you're grieving, you're also experiencing the joy of having had.
Yeah,
That
of course. Like
it's,
that's what that is. It's full on. Sometimes that can be very obvious if someone dies and it's full on everything, complete devastation and sadness, and actually total love. It's everything. It's completely everything. It can be very obvious. But I mean, this is the beautiful thing about this too, is it's not a concept, right? It's not a belief system. It's not a paradigm. It's not it's unknowable and has nothing to do with you. So there's no trust needed. I mean, what it would be the individual, or trust that this is it, or trust that. And also the other thing about that is the individual is kind of in these states, so it wants to trust that, okay, this is incredible, I want to keep this, then I want this to be my everyday lived reality. And that's another story, because that's the individual trying to be in some sort of state that it wants to keep. You cannot keep this, because you cannot have this, you cannot know this. It's unknowable and unobtainable, ungraspable, and it's inescapable, because it's all that's appearing to happen. It's not a
yeah,
state, it's not an experience. It's the individual is in going from one state to another and has experiences. It absolutely does not matter what the individual thinks about this, or the individual's idea of it is nonsense. There is no individual. There's just what's appearing to happen.
yeah, and it's obvious, and not like the whole time thing. It's so obvious.
It's too obvious. That's what we were saying in the YouTube thing as well. It's just simply too obvious and ordinary and directly just whatever's appearing to happen. What an incredibly ingenious way to appear to hide, by just being everything already. Isn't that clever?
And even
Isn't that stunningly
sounds like
clever?
there's an and even that sounds like there's an orchestration, and it
Oh
doesn't.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
and I know that these are just beautiful words, and that's what we have to deal with, but
Oh yeah, forget about it. Like, it's impossible. Like there's no sense here that it can be conveyed. There's no sense. Like, that's why I really don't care at all about the language that's used, or I just try and avoid confusing terms. Not that I try to do that, but I can't say it. I can't. Nobody can say it. Nobody can
Right.
say
The
this. Nobody
simplicity.
can. Nobody can explain this. Nobody can point this out. Nobody. It's impossible. But when there's a sharing, that's why you'll always hear me say it's not about knowing. It's not about understanding. It's just a resonance. There's just a resonance with what's said. Then all of those paradoxes can collapse. There's just the simplicity of whatever's appearing to happen, and it's just the words don't matter at all. The words are just blah blah blah. That's why when there's a sharing like this, we could sit here for an hour and say nothing, and that's what's appearing to happen. I mean, because it's indescribable. There's either a question or there isn't.
Yeah, and I've listened to dozens of your videos, and never, like, every time a question arose, it just dissolved that easily, that quickly too. And I was one of the clowns last night, waiting for you.
No, you were waiting
I
for
just,
I
well,
was
it
the
was just,
clown who didn't show up. So
no, I was one of the audience members of the clown show.
at least
But
you had a bit of banter anyway.
yeah,
Probably had
exactly.
more fun with me not
Well, the
showing
funny
up.
thing is, it's one of those things, and, energetic, like, I'm not expecting anything. And all of a sudden I see, oh, Kenneth is live. Oh, wow. And I'm like, because it was like a random thing for me to,
Yeah.
and by the energy thing, that always baffles me. And I guess that's always also another question. I mean, you know, as far as, the driver of the dream bus or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, of course, because it's unknown. And yet seems like something something is energetically, but again, that's, I guess, a story. And that's, okay. That's
Something
just,
is energetically what driving, controlling the whole thing.
well, there seems to be will,
Mm.
and like, will or willingness, because I didn't ask to suddenly get exposed to this. That happened over the last few years, maybe 10 years,
Yeah.
what apparently happened. But something drives, and when people say, well, gee, if everybody, dropped the sense of self, well, that's not even a desire for me, or like, because I'm like, that's just the will of whatever's energy is unfolding the way it does, and there's no
Yes.
need for anything to be different.
No, it's just what's appearing to happen. There's no you that was exposed to this. It's just what's appearing to happen. And it's about loss anyway. So there's nobody who benefits from this. It's the most useless thing ever. It's just what's appearing to happen. It's just seeing it, that sense of being separate may appear to fall away, and there's just what's appearing to happen. So it's clear to nobody that everything is nothing. Nothing is everything. There's nowhere to get to. There's nothing to know, and it's a play of light. So then, if it's all a play of light, then those that feel separate are also just a play of light. They are just unconditional love appearing to feel separate from itself, wondering how do I find a thing called wholeness?
Yeah, there's no hierarchy.
So
There's
there is no individual, like there's just an appearance that, and then, but it appears to be a huge sense of yearning from that sense of separation. And then there's just this sharing without an agenda that, maybe there's just this, maybe there is no separate you, but it doesn't matter if that's heard or not. Actually, it could only matter or be significant if there really was an individual and there was something to get.
Yeah, and I think that's why there was at one point, like, this time where I could almost feel like this vibration of the mind stopping, but then in the body, almost like something like was preventing this bubble to burst. And that used to be so frustrating. And now it's not minded at all. It's just, I'm aware of sensations and.
Yeah, because there's no, it can be clear there's no bubble to burst. There really is no individual. There never had been an individual. Nothing, there's nothing happened there.
Right,
the
but
sense
there's
of being separate
leftover.
was an appearance that may still appear or may not.
Yeah, but there's leftover, almost like, leftover something.
Oh yeah, like energetically, the sense of
Yeah.
being an individual could still arise. Like the way it appears to play out often is that this is very obvious. There's just what's appearing to happen, but then the sense of it happening to a me can appear to come, then appear to be there, maybe not be there, not be there, and then that will just play out as it does.
Okay.
And who knows?
And
it
yeah,
just appears to play out. So it can just be obvious that if there is a sense, maybe that it can be seen, well, that's just another thing that's appearing to happen. So a sense of separation is just another thing that's appearing to happen. And it can be game over then. It's just there's just then what's appearing to happen then. So if there's a sense of contraction, then the sense that it's really my contraction is gone. So who cares what appears to happen then? Whereas logically, the individual thinks about the way they conceive of this is there's this solid thing called an individual that really drops away, and then because it can only think in terms of states and experiences, and then that would never appear. That it's all just a story. There's just aliveness. There is no individual who appear. There's the appearance of one. That's all.
Thank you, Kenneth.
That's lovely to speak to you.
Thank you.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Kenneth. Just lower this. Yes. So it appears to be that meing and being just like intermittently go. So there's the sense, oh, something needs to change. I'm not there yet. It comes back. All that like old record or whatever, or that's what appears to show up. And then it's back into like feeling so, that hearing you, there's so much fear as well. It's like, I want to keep my life. Don't say I'm not here. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just mad.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't, that's just what's appearing to happen. So that's all, everything you described there is just energy appearing as that.
Yes.
There's nowhere to get to. There's no,
I mean,
it's just what's appearing to happen. That's wholeness appearing as that. As appearing as a sense of self who's afraid of their absence. Fear is like the fear is it. That fear, the fear, it's already that fear. Fear is aliveness. So it's just what's appearing to happen. How's my jumper coming along?
I know on YouTube, I wrote down the message, you need to join the Stitch and Bitch group.
The Stitch and Bitch crowd, yeah. Oh, it was so funny. I thought it was so funny because I realized I was gonna be late, and then I said, "Oh shit! I bet I'm not gonna make this 3 o'clock." So I jumped on to apologize and say, "Well, there's no meeting today." I must have been nearly 3:25, and then I ended up in the middle of a Stitch and Bitch. I mean, if that's not free fall for you, I don't know what is. It was just so funny. I was laughing afterwards. I was like, it's so funny You just do not know what's going to appear to happen.
When my friend asked her last question, then they started talking a lot, so I muted, and you had another chap come on and talk to you, so I could see the picture.
Yeah, it's so funny. We ended up
they turned the sound right down because there's no getting it.
Well, of course, yeah, I know,
yeah.
yeah, and you were busy, but it's just so funny. Like, I just have no idea. It really is from nothing. Really, it's stunning. It's stunning to this character, Kenneth. It's as stunning as it ever was, because it's not from there's no one here who knows anything. This is living in the unknown. Nobody living in the unknown. And it's just amazing to me. I have no idea. There appears to be this. So you go on and you're supposed, it's, there'll be no meeting. The next thing, there's this gorgeous meeting. Apparently, it's also just an appearance, but yeah.
It's because when I meet up with some people, I say, I was going to go home to be on your Zoom, and then they were asking questions, and so I suggested,
I see, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
if you want, we can watch it here.
Yeah.
Every time I mentioned the Zoom, they want to know what it is, and I try, and I get all alive, because I love whatever this. That's like, this is just in loveness, and they can see that, so they're intrigued, but it's just, it's someone trying to get it intellectually, like my friend was asking you if there was a community. It's just very much gathering
of course,
information.
Yeah. Of course it is, because that's
yes.
that's of course anybody who is maybe curious about this, they would like the whole thing appears from the sense of there's an individual who wants something, so they come with questions. That's how the whole thing appears to go, that there's a question. I want something, I want to know, and then there's this illumination from nothing. So the question, instead of getting the satisfactory answer that builds on knowing, it's just this, there's this boundless communication, this boundless energy that can resonate, because the question kind of falls into nothing, and either there's either that's obvious or it isn't. For some, it's very obvious that this isn't really about a question and an answer, because it's not about knowing. But of course, anyone who comes across this would want to know, what's it about? What can I get out of it, would be one of the first questions. Of course, because that's the reality the individual is in. Like, is this of any use to me? Will this, okay, so you're listening to this guy, Ken, like, is what he's saying, will it improve my life? Will it make me, of course. And then funnily enough, when when they come across it, then, and there's just this resonance to it. There's something about it that just resonates, despite all the questions that there aren't being answered to their satisfaction or whatever, or not getting an answer, and then it can just be obvious there's actually not even a question. The whole question is that why have I lost wholeness, really? Why am I me? And there's the big old world out there. It can just be obvious there's not really a question, because there is no me. And it's so beautiful that it's mostly rejected, really, and it's just heard as it's heard. Doesn't matter.
I wonder if the appeal, or apparent appeal, it comes up and then it's just disappeared. Something comes up into words, and as soon as I try share, it just falls away. When I try to share, it's
doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter at all. So it doesn't matter if someone asks a question or someone doesn't ask a question. This is just unconditional. All there is unconditional. It's love. It's just inescapable. appearing to ask a question.
Seeking the end of separation.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter
idea.
what the individual thinks they're doing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the individual appears to come in at 1,000,000 miles an hour and ask 1,000,000 questions. That's just energy. Or else sit in and just listen. One isn't more significant than the other. There's no individual. It's only significant in the lived reality of you feeling as separate that there's something really happening, and there really is a you. It's inescapable.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. It was lovely. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I've all the apologies done at this stage, but yeah, I fucked up quite a few meetings in the last week. I had half of America waiting on me. And then there was the Thursday one. But in fairness, I very, very, very rarely anything more than 5 minutes late for a meeting. So, and if I can't do it, I'd email people beforehand and say that it's not happening. So there you go. I have a link there if, for contributions. It's in the email, and I appreciate it. I know some of you are Patreon, and you know what you get from that, or locals. That's it really. Trying to think. Nothing really. I'll see you Sunday. I'll be on Sunday, and then I'll have virtual attendance is open for Dublin, so that'll be the following weekend. I'll have a meeting in Dublin, so you'll be able to join that virtually on Zoom. That's about it.
I was going to say I can't remember what level on Patreon I'm in.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it says
I
it
don't
in the
know
description.
where I can find it.
Well, 20 is one meeting a week. 10 is one.
No,
a month.
but I can't remember which one I've.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing 4, so.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
I'm trying to find it. I'll find it.
Figure it out. Don't worry.
All right. Thank you.
It was lovely to see everyone. Thank you.
See you,
Thanks, Kenneth. Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everyone.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.